Are we good?
Yes.
Yes.
We are good.
Yeah.
I think Will's. Are we good?
Yeah.
Do you
Yeah.
want
You
to
might have to clap in my face if you do.
You do that. That'll come across really well on camera.
Abby was attacking him.
She kept slapping him and he kept thanking her.
I just said
It was a weird
fly in the
dynamic.
room.
Matt left the room. There he is. Hi everyone, welcome to the Unsigned podcast. We are joined by Amy Violet and Will Poe. Welcome to the podcast, Will. Thank you very much for coming in.
No problem.
First time that I actually met you was at the Alex Francis gig at Old St Pancras Church.
That's right, yeah.
That's the first time that I'd heard of you either. Well, you were supporting him and Celine Love that night, right?
Yeah.
How'd you find that?
It was amazing. Really enjoyed it, actually. It was sort of put together by a friend of mine, Kevin, who does the Sound Sniffer, and he'd managed to bring me in on this sort of night that he was putting on. And so I had like these sort of like string of shows that I'd sort of described as a bit of a tour, but it was like the most sporadic, random tour.
If you can highlight it as a tour, that's good marketing, right?
And then they all sort of culminated, or was supposed to culminate in that show at St Pancras.
Oh, wow.
So it was like it was a bit of a big deal for me.
Yeah, it was a hell of a venue.
Yeah, it was lovely. It was amazing.
Great venue, great night. It was the first, so me and Lizzie went along because we've had Alex Francis in the podcast studio a few weeks ago now.
Oh, right.
Quite a few weeks ago. But he came in and he actually performed on Monday, and Lizzie went to that as well. I couldn't make it, but he was there with Giva Sunday.
Oh, yeah.
As well. So he's quite cool. You like him, don't you?
I do, yeah. Back to Dreaming of You. I played that so many times.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
It's a new favourite.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah, apart from Will Pope, of course.
Obviously. Do you know what? Because we're doing, so as part of Unsigned, we've also got Future Hits as well, which is our radio station.
Mm-hmm.
And we're doing Track of the Year at the moment, aren't we? With our nominations closed tonight, and then we're going to shortlist them and put them up. Stormy Seas would feature on there.
Oh, nice.
But it came out last year, didn't it?
Yeah. Well, it came out in 2021.
Yeah. So Rehash is on there.
Rehash is on there.
Rehash will be on there.
Oh, thanks.
But Stormy Seas, I'm saying, is one of my favourite ever songs.
Yeah. I think we both would have put it on there.
Yeah, 100%. You actually said to me on the way here, didn't you? You were like, are you putting Will's song on there? And I was like, I can't really. Although you uploaded it to us this year.
Yeah.
Because it came out last year, I feel like it's cheating the system a bit.
Mm. Yeah, I was very much new to the way of sort of releasing music.
Yeah.
I was just sort of doing it all by myself,
Yeah.
sort of without really having any idea about how you're supposed to do it. So, Stormy Seas was part of like an album which I wrote during the I'd written it, like the songs over a sort of 2-year period prior to the 2021 release. And then Stormy Seas was the only one that really sort of gained some traction. So
right. Is that why that's the only one that's on Spotify?
Yeah,
right.
That's right, yeah. And the album cover makes no sense with the title. It's called Stormy Seas, and there's like an old Chinese lady on the front with a duck. Couldn't be more like different, I guess.
Yeah, you said mention the album.
I found it.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, I think as a whole project, it's absolutely stunning. I mean, Stormy Seas does stand out as an amazing single on its own, but I did wonder why you took it down. It's like a whole story.
I took it down because it doesn't really look good on Spotify to have like a bunch of songs with less than 1,000 streams, basically. Even if you have one that has...
I'm not saying anything.
Just deactivate my account.
Well done, Will.
I was going to thanks for inviting me. It's been a pleasure. So I sort of just took it down because I thought it would fit being on SoundCloud and Bandcamp, but for what Spotify does in terms of like getting caught in the algorithms and sort of all that stuff, I thought it was a good idea to take it down. and just sort of leave the album there, and it's in my bio. So if you want to listen to the album, it's in my Spotify bio. It's just the Bandcamp link is there.
Yeah, I didn't.
You didn't go very far, did you?
I didn't do it. Do you know what? Right, I've even thought to myself when you uploaded Rehash, I was like, yes, it's like new music to listen to from Will, right? I obviously didn't do my research enough, did I? So I apologise. I'll be certainly listening to it, I promise you, because I'm a big fan of that.
But there's some really different elements in the rest of that. Would you call it an EP or an hour? No, it's an EP.
I don't really know. I just refer to it as a
project.
A bit of a project, yeah.
And what's it called? Burying Giants?
Burying Giants.
Burying Giants. There's a lot of different elements in there that you don't... Stormy Seas and Rehash have got the same sort of elements. But you're adding other things like ambient sounds and different outside. Have you got live stuff in there?
Yes. I mean, so God, I'm thinking back now to when I started recording it. So I stayed in this kind of warehouse in this semi-soundproofed room. And like I said, I didn't know anything about recording or mixing or anything like that. So it was all just like a project, you know. I was just going to force myself to learn by doing it, basically. And there's a lot of sounds in that sort of debut where it's just sort of noises, you know, like sort of echoes and sounds, and they're all just like reverbs in the warehouse. And there's a dawn chorus in it that's like the dawn chorus just outside the warehouse. It was done in Finsbury Park.
Fair enough.
Yeah, I can't remember I can't remember the name of the place that I stayed in. I wasn't living in London at the time when I went there, and I haven't found it since. Maybe it doesn't exist.
Maybe
it's a figment of your imagination.
Maybe I just went completely mad. Yeah, I was in a field somewhere.
Explains why you don't remember much of it.
Yeah, but yeah. I mean, it was a while ago, to be honest. The actual recording of it, like I say, it's done during lockdown, and I think lockdown for all of us was just like a massive blur of one very horrible long day.
I was saying,
Groundhog Day.
I was literally saying to Charlotte and the kids yesterday, it feels like it was almost like a film that I'd watched, as opposed to living through it. It feels like it was so long ago. It doesn't. Well, it doesn't even feel real now, looking back.
Yeah, we all have such weird memories of it. Yeah, actually, and it's quite strange. I think. Yeah, so I think in a way that debut, the songs that were written on it were songs that I had written while living in Beijing the previous year, and I'd lived in China for about 5 years previous to the pandemic. Got caught up in the old Panny D when I came back for that Christmas in 2019, and I'd been sort of gigging and sort of doing shows and stuff in the weird and wonderful Beijing music scene, and all those songs that are on Burying Giants are from that time there. So I think in a way that project was a way of sort of escaping I guess the lockdown and stuff, and trying to remake that in a way that felt authentic, but it ends up coming out quite as a whole project. It ends up coming out sounding quite isolated and a bit strained at times, I think, which I
wouldn't say strained. I wouldn't say strained.
You wouldn't?
No.
Do
you think you're getting that view of it because it's your work and you're more critical, or got more of a critical eye on it, maybe? Or
I'm a very, very harsh critic of myself a lot of the time, to be honest. But I think especially, to be honest, with Burying Giants, I had this awful feeling that I was going to do it, and then 5 years later I was going to look back and be like, oh my God.
I think everyone does that with everything though, don't they?
But actually, I mean, I don't go back and listen to it, but I'm really glad it's done. It's allowed me to be able to move on to other things and to sort of
helped
focus on different things.
Find your sound, really, I suppose, as well, because there was quite a bit of experimentation overall.
Yeah. I mean, especially with the producing side of things as well. I didn't know the first thing about producing before I started doing it. So, there were some that landed, like Stormy Seas, and there were some that didn't.
Right.
For lack of a better way of saying it.
What took you to China originally then?
I guess I went there because while I was at university, I went on a sort of solo traveling thing. over the summer, I went to Kenya on an NGO project and lived with a Maasai tribe for like a few months.
Wow.
And it was like a really amazing experience, really sort of jumping in the deep end kind of experience as well in terms of traveling. You could have just gone to Spain, you know, but I decided to go to the Masai Mara, you know. And so I think China was a bit of an extension of that experience.
Right.
It was another sort of as far away as you can go sort of thing. And I did the whole TEFL thing. And, you know, obviously, like, China is just the biggest one in TEFL. You know, like, you will just get a job tomorrow if you wanted to.
You got TEFL? Nope. Teaching English as a foreign language.
Cool, thanks.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, teaching English as a foreign language. That's it, yeah.
I'm like, Tefl. I think I've got a pan made by Tefl. It's Teflon, isn't it?
Teflon. Yeah, I went over selling Teflon. Yeah. It was a salesman selling Tupperware and polystyrene. It gets you, takes you places.
Yeah, cool. No, for next time. Thanks. That's cool though to do that. So then you stayed there for 5 years. You said 5 years.
5 years.
Oh
yeah.
wow.
Yeah.
How's it then coming back to? So you said, did you come back in 2019 just for Christmas, or were you back because the pandemic sort of hit, and then you thought I better go home, or how did that? What happened there?
So there was a lot of stuff going on really with what brought me back, and the pandemic was part of it. I'd been on a trip in the summer of 2019 from Beijing down to Hong Kong. I went on their like bullet trains that go like super fast, and you can get down to Hong Kong in like 8 hours. It's like going from like London to Morocco, you know.
Blimey.
In terms of like distance, it's like a crazy distance. And I stopped off in a bunch of places on the way down. One of the places I stopped off was Wuhan.
Oh wow!
Ye old COVID
that
originated. And I remember like getting really sick actually, like in the summer, and just being like, oh, I can't smell anything. What's going on?
Oh, wow.
And then like towards, I mean, I could be just like embellishing the memory now because you know I've had COVID a couple times, and like I always look back on it and I'm like, did I actually have it? I might have, but yeah, I think it was like in December time. I was coming back for Christmas anyway, and then there was some rumblings going on, like, so this is SARS part 2 sort of thing. Like in China, everyone was like, oh, something's happening. And then I came back, and then by the time I came back, there was this sort of mad rush of friends who had all come back for the Christmas period. And we're like, oh, we need to get back now if we are going to get back, because it's locked down. And I just thought I'd rather not go back and get locked down.
Of course. Yeah.
And there were some other reasons too as well, like personal reasons of wanting to sort of stay with family and stuff. And
well, 5 years away from home is a hell of a long time. Isn't it?
Yeah. And I mean, I would come back like at times, but again, like it is really far away.
Yeah.
And I've actually got a brother out there as well who lives in Japan.
Right.
So, you know, I'd sort of see him, but like, yeah, in terms of like distance from family, it was like massive.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it was nice to come back. And then, you know, by the time China had lifted its lockdown, we were in lockdown number 6 or whichever one it was, you know.
Yeah.
And it's still, I mean, even in the news now, it's still not dealt with it. Like it's still,
there's loads of protests over there at the moment, isn't there? I saw like a journalist from BBC got arrested the other day because they mistook her for a protester.
Yeah. Apparently their reasoning, or at least so I've heard, their reasoning was that they didn't want her to get COVID or him to get COVID.
So they arrested her.
So they beat them and arrested them. So it's just
better than COVID.
Crazy times.
That's mad, isn't it? Well, luckily we're through the other side of that now. So when we got out of that and you got into gigging again, how did you find it getting back into the London scene rather than the Beijing scene in gigging?
It was actually incredibly hard because I moved down here like mid-pandemic. There wasn't a lot going on, and it was just a ghost town, and there was no music industry. You know what I mean? Like at least in terms of like entering it, there was no way of getting in. Like it felt like everyone had like their people, and if they were in the industry and they were sort of all helping each other out, and but as in like trying to get into it was very, very hard. So like there wasn't really any open mics or gigs or things like that, and I eventually ended up doing like these gigs down in this burger restaurant.
Right. Where was that?
It was down near Green Lanes.
Oh, okay.
They were super nice. They were really friendly, really nice. But like, I just felt like so like not the right guy that they wanted. You know, they want someone to just sing like Country Road and Hotel California, and I'm there like singing my sad pony folk songs, and everyone's like, I just came here for a beer. You know, like there's this guy bringing me down. You know. But yeah, no. Since then, it's just been a slow process. But it is, isn't it? It's always a slow process. Like it's always like you meet someone and then you meet somebody else, and it just takes time. It always does. Yeah,
it does take time. I think that seeing you at St Pancras, you definitely got. When I saw you playing, it was almost like. Now I'm not a musician. I've never been a musician. I'm surrounded by musicians, and I am not one. I can talk about it, but that's about it. But the way in which you were playing your guitar, it was almost like you had two instruments. Like the way you were playing it, I can't describe. I remember saying to you, it almost sounded
fangirling over you a little bit.
Oh well, yeah, I was a little bit. Yeah. I had a hat on earlier, like a beanie. She went, "Oh, you want to look like Will."
Imagine.
But yeah, it was like you had like two instruments. The way you were playing it, I can't even describe how you were doing it, but it sounded like you had a backing with you.
The twiddly and the plucky.
Oh, that's not how I. Don't show me up.
I mean, that's essentially all the technique is. It's just there's the bass line and there's like a melodic line, and you just sort of like do both.
Just do both. Just do both. Well, do you know what I mean? Amazing, isn't it? Just do both. Just do both. Not many people can do both, Will.
No. I mean, a lot of guitar isn't as melodic, I suppose, as yours is in your music.
I guess it's the sort of style of guitar that I try to like sort of what's the word?
Emulate? Is that
emulate? That was the word I was going for.
Very good. Yeah. Very good.
Yeah, that's the. So I listened to a lot of Nick Drake and stuff like growing up, like folky stuff, like finger picky, and I think you sort of hear that in the sort of crunchy finger style, but not as bluesy, I guess.
I think you can hear bluesy influences for sure.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, there you go then.
Especially in the harmonies as well. So it's obviously coming out elsewhere.
Yeah. I mean, I guess recently I've been listening to a lot of Chet Atkins, and I think that's really helped with the sort of bass line, melodic line, you know, trying to do both and doing something sort of interesting on both rather than having a very simple bass line with intricate twiddly bits.
See, it was a good word.
Yeah, it is exactly what I do. Really, I describe it as noodling. I just noodle.
Noodling. You're also a bit of a stand-up comedian, I remember from that night as well.
Oh God. Yeah. I mean, I just got it in my head. I'm really bad at like the sort of rapport as something I'm like still learning to do.
I don't think so. Like you were talking to the crowd, like when you in between like songs and tuning and changing instruments and stuff like that. Like you held the crowd.
Yeah. Well, it's something that I'm probably like. It's one of the things I'm least comfortable with.
Right.
Is because I feel like when you're playing an instrument, you've kind of got this thing in front of you. Even when you're singing, you've still got a thing in front of you separating you from the audience. But when it's just you and the audience, all of a sudden I'm like. So sometimes I feel a bit sort of nervous and I don't really know what to say, and I get, you know, and so I decided that it would be a really good idea.
Did you prepare stuff?
If I just had a bunch of really corny jokes.
They're like, I seriously tried to remember them because my daughter, right, she's 10 years old. I don't think she loves them, but she likes dad jokes.
Oh, right, yeah.
So I even started following like a Twitter account that just does dad jokes just so I could tell her some. But yours on the night, I was like, I've got to remember those. And I got home and I said to Lizzie, I was like, I fucking forgot them.
So can you remind us?
Yeah. Have you got one?
I can't remember. I think, oh, God.
I mean, they were corny.
They were extreme.
So they're kind of like laughing, but also like...
Yeah, but it was brilliant. But if you're looking for, like, when you're both of you are solo artists, right? So when you have got time in between songs, if you're not going from one song straight into another, or if you're playing an instrument and you've got to tune it, I can imagine it's quite difficult to sort of do the sort of interlude, if you like, between the songs. So it's good to have something.
And to have it be sort of unique, I guess, in a way as well, because you want to get like your character or personality across as well. You don't just want to be super, super, super polite because people are going to be like, It's a bit awkward.
Yeah, I know. But I think on that night, so you and Celine had very different ways of speaking to the crowd. She was quite polished in what she was doing, but she was literally talking about what every single.
So this is my next song, and this is inspired by.
Were you there?
No.
It was basically like that.
No,
She was
that's
great.
strategy.
She was great, but it was a lot of talking in regards to like introducing the track, what the inspiration come from, and all that. And it was lovely, but I also had to catch a train. So I was a bit. I was like, looking at Lizzie. I was like, I can't. Like, I need to like. But yeah, but I think you dealt with it very well.
Well, thanks.
Yeah, I'll stay for the dad jokes.
Yeah, stay for the dad.
Well, Will was
I'll keep that
you
in
were on
mind.
first as well, weren't you? So you got. I think it was good to. It was a good way to break the crowd in, not only because Will's a fantastic musician, but the dad jokes made people.
Dad jokes are always a plus.
Oh,
I guess.
100%. What are you going to say?
Are they?
Yeah.
Okay.
It can break the silence, can't it? It
Yeah.
can engage people. It's good. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, I mean, I've got quite a strange sense of humor, so it was either going to be like really sort of silly, corny dad jokes, or it was going to be quite dark and deadpan, and I'd prefer
Yeah,
it to
dad
be.
jokes.
Especially being in a church as well, I didn't want to
Being in a
just-
church, playing quite sad songs, and then doing that.
People
be
come
like-
up to you. You're right, mate.
So what other? So when we were talking a little bit earlier before we came on pod, you were talking about doing the Islington Radio Festival, which you done back in, was that September time, wasn't it? Around then?
I can't remember.
We'll say September.
We'll say September.
But what other events have you done in the last few months,
Well-
or over the course of this year, in fact?
Well, I mean, I did a bit of a sort of self-organised UK tour, and so I went to a bunch of places. I went to Newport. It's the
Which Newport?
folk capital of the UK.
Which Newport?
In Wales.
Oh right, okay, cool. Because
Um,
there's Newport Isle of Wight as well, isn't there?
is there?
I'm sure there is.
It's the second folk capital. of
Okay,
the UK,
cool.
Yeah. So I went there. I went to Bradford. I went to Leeds. I went to Sheffield. I went to a bunch of places. I
Oh,
can't
wow.
remember, but I tried to get out as much as I could, and I've played all over London. I feel like at this point, like I've done like a lot of different places. I mean, there's still tons more to do,
Yeah.
right? And there's loads of venues I would love to play at, that I haven't yet. But yeah, I mean, I would struggle to sort of recall everything that I've done this year. I feel like I've done like a lot of that.
Yeah.
So maybe next year, I'm hoping that I'm just gonna maybe just have a handful of things,
Mhm.
rather than trying to
Do too much.
which is what I feel like I ended up doing in a way.
Yeah, it's interesting because I've had that conversation with a few artists. Like leading towards Christmas and the end of this year, you look back and you go, I've done like well, not me, but the people I've spoken to, I've done so many gigs, but I don't feel like I've achieved a lot as such. Like when they look at like with bands that I'm dealing with, it's a case that right, we're gonna take a bit of a break, concentrate on writing and recording, and then come back when we're leading into the summer, and then start trying to hit the festival season harder and stuff like that. Whereas rather than just saying yes to every gig, being more selective and trying to create a bit more of a plan.
Yeah. I felt like for me that there wasn't really any plan. It was just like wherever I can get in, basically. And that's, I can't see that changing either. Like I can, it will probably still be something similar to that.
Yeah.
It'll be a case of just sort of sending out 250 emails and getting 10 back and then doing those.
Yeah.
But
is that how the gigs work for you then at the moment, or have you put on your own events, or is it always going towards venues and promoters trying to get on a bill?
so it's always been trying to get onto something. I've never
Right.
actually organised anything myself.
Right.
Maybe that's something to do.
Yeah, maybe
Yeah.
that could be on the bucket list for 2023.
Yeah.
Is that a bucket list? Not really, is it? A goal.
Yeah.
A goal for 2023.
Yeah. Bucket list is a bit dramatic.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Before I
thought-
die.
Yeah, I do. That's why I didn't want. I changed it very quickly after realising I said that.
But you have got something coming up before the end of 2022, haven't you?
Yeah, I've just released a single called Rehash, which came out like maybe last week or something. Now.
The
So,
18th of November.
And I've got another song that's coming out on the 16th of December called Punchline, which I'm excited about.
Yeah, I noticed you changed your. I'm not stalking you, right? It sounds a bit. It sounds like I am a bit.
Clearly not, because you didn't find the whole other.
No, you're right.
You know,
I was just
list of
no,
songs.
but I did go on your Instagram, and you've stripped back. Unless I missed something, but I'm sure you stripped back a lot of your Instagram photos, and you've only got like 3 photos on there that look like one. Is that for the release? Is that like a build up for that?
Yeah, so I was working with a friend of mine who's an artist called Steve Chapman, who goes by Steve XO as an artist, and he's done some incredible artwork for Punchline. And what we've ended up with are 2 really detailed images that we're using, and that's basically what is slowly being sort of posted on Instagram at the moment. We've got like the 3 at the bottom, and there's going to be 6 more of those, and they're coming out daily, and each one is just going to have like some of the lyrics from the song. And eventually what's going to happen is you're going to have like a long sort of a big picture.
That makes sense. Yeah.
I was trying to think of a word, and then I was like, I'm not going to say tapestry, like, because it's not. You know?
Mosaic.
Mosaic. Yeah, that's what I went.
Yeah, mosaic. There we go.
Yeah, that's cool though.
Yeah, no, it's so nice, and he's done a really remarkable job with it. And yeah, no, it's perfect, and I'm a big fan of his art anyway. So it's nice to see Punchline and just my music in general sort of like mixing with what he does. Like, it just feels like what has come out of that has actually been really inspiring, actually, to see. And Rehash, the Rehash promotion was slightly different because it was Rehash I wrote while being in Beijing. It was supposed to be on Burying Giants and never ended up on there, partly because I could never figure out how to work the mix, right? And so that would just took longer. And what I did for that one is that I took like lots of old footage from Beijing, from friends who I knew back there, some of them still there now, photos and little videos and snippets, and I mashed them together with speeches and stand-ups and interviews with people who I was sort of watching or listening to a lot at the time that I was there. So there's there's like a George Carlin one, there's a Adam Curtis one, and there's a I forget, but there's a bunch. And so they're just very, very different promotions, I guess is what I'm trying to say. Is they're very different campaigns, and so I kind of feel like when Punchline is coming out, I just want it to just be that picture, because I think it's enough. It's more than enough, really.
And you're kind of teasing it in as well, aren't you, day by day?
That's it. Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
Stay tuned to
teasing.
Yeah.
That's right.
Sounds like you take the art behind it all very seriously.
And the promotion.
Yeah.
Do I?
Well, the thing is, you've got a plan, haven't you? And you've got an action plan that you've set out. You said for your last single, it was a case of getting all the footage, and then in this one, you've got the artwork. That's like, and to strip out all of. I mean, I'm not sure how big your Instagram was prior to making the decision to strip it and then doing this promo, but to get rid of all your photos on Instagram could be quite a thing for some people, to strip everything out and essentially start again. So yeah, I think that's taking it very seriously, getting the promotion right. Not a lot of artists and bands necessarily have a quite as decisive plan as you.
I mean, I haven't actually deleted any of the previous posts. They're all just archived.
Smoke and mirrors. That makes more sense.
Yeah. So I mean, it could just be sort of brought back out as and when.
Right. Okay.
But I guess it's just for different things, really. I mean, when I was doing my quote-unquote tour of the UK, like I had lots of videos of me performing live.
Yeah.
Right, and thank you for this venue and thank you to that venue, you know, lots of this. But that's not really, I hate to use the word relevant because it sounds a bit strong, but like when I'm releasing something new, I don't want to be recalling back to something else. I want it to just be about this new thing that's coming out. Right?
That makes sense.
But yeah,
that's good. I think that's quite good advice for people looking to do some sort of promo. I mean, I've got on my personal page, I've got a lot of lots of different stuff on there because I started it when I wasn't trying to be a presenter and stuff. So there's a lot of older stuff on there. With Unsigned, it is especially, it's obviously all of this stuff, all the podcast, the radio show and all that. And on Future Hits, it's everyone's shows, isn't it, really?
Yeah.
So that's all pretty good. But I think from an artist perspective or a band or whatever, it's a good tip that you've just given. Archive it, and then you can do your promo for your next single. What?
Why do I get a cough every time I come here?
I don't know. It's because you're drinking Lucozade.
We're getting coffee in the break.
Yeah. We're going to get coffee in a minute. With the with Punchline, what was the inspiration behind that? You said you wrote it in Beijing, but was it about living there or?
Yeah. So Punchline, I don't actually really know where Punchline came from. I had the lyrics written down, and I have like a bunch of notebooks, like I don't know how many, and they're just like filled with pages and pages of lyrics and pages of tabs and chords and all the rest of it, you know. And Punchline was always just written in each book, and it just never really went into anything. And then it sort of, I had like a really simple way, because I'm a solo act, like I tend to try and always have something sort of intricate and different going on with the guitar. But with this one, it's very stripped back, it's very simple, it's just percussive, really. Adding the nylon acoustic and the banjo in the song that's about to come out, like helped to sort of give it more of a body to the sound of the song. I don't really know where it came from, to be quite honest with you.
Right.
But you know,
timing wise, it's quite brave to bring it out so close to Christmas as well. Was that what was the thinking behind that?
I mean, it's a Christmas song.
Well, that'll help.
No, it's a Christmas banger. Yeah, I didn't really think about it. Maybe I shouldn't. Maybe I shouldn't do it.
Pull it. Get all the artwork down.
That's it, yeah.
Get the icon.
I need to talk to Steve. Why didn't you tell me this before?
Matt's advice to literally everyone at the minute is, can you add some jingle bells?
No, right.
There's not enough cowbell.
Seriously, right. So I had a track sent to me, and I literally said, when you releasing this? And they were like, oh, we're going to release it on the 2nd of December. And I went, oh, right. I said, it's not a Christmas song, is it? And they were like, no. And I was like, it could be. It could be. Because it was like, it could be. E17 did it, didn't they? That wasn't a Christmas song. Shove some sleigh bells on them, give them my coat, and then put some snow on them.
That's the way around it. Just do the music video, then you're good.
Stay in
You want to be in it. There's a backing dancer, don't you?
Yeah.
With a little beanie hat on. Can
That's
I be
it.
in it? Is
That's
that right?
it.
Yeah, I'm in. Get
Sorted.
Gabrielle along. Was she in that? A different song.
Different song.
Whoops. Right, what we're going to do, we'll have a quick break. We'll go get a coffee, and then we'll come back for section 2 where we do your dream gig. Lovely. Right, see you in section 2.
Hi, this is Lizzie Romain, and you're watching the Unsigned podcast.
Hi everyone, welcome back to the Unsigned podcast. We're joined by Will Pope, AB Violet, producer Ian is here, and we're going to do your dream gig now, Will. But first of all, you were telling us ever so slightly before we told you to shut up before we started recording about when you were doing the Burying Giants.
Well, I was just saying, I tried to treat a room. I tried to sort of do it myself, and I did an absolutely appalling job. And I like sawed up the pieces of a bed frame and tried to basically create these little sort of what do you call them?
Oh, Joe, I've literally ordered the same one. What are they actually called? Soundproof panels? Is that the
Soundproof
right?
panels, something like that. Acoustic panels.
Acoustic panels, that's correct, yeah.
And it basically just got lots of loft insulation, filled them in like plastic bags, and then like wrapped it inside this weird frame. It was like these horrible, unsightly, really heavy things, just giant, hideous squares.
Right.
That just sort of hung on walls. Didn't do a thing.
I was going to say, if it does the job, that's fine.
No, it didn't even do a thing. I mean, I thought maybe it would do something, but no.
We've had this conversation though, haven't we? We've said like, what's the weirdest thing that you've had to do to record vocals or something like that? Like, it was bed covers, right?
Yeah, duvet or a small cupboard with towels and blankets and stuff in it.
Yeah,
the
I did
airing
that.
cupboard. Yeah. Yes,
In my apartment, actually, in Turnpike Lane, we have this like tiny little space corridor between like a bike room, I guess. It's where I do a lot of my music stuff, and then the living room. And there's like a door there and a door there. And I would drag the cupboard into this tiny little space. And I would not be able to move like more than this.
Yeah.
And I'd have like my duvet and then the spare duvet and then all the wet towels behind me. There was many times I was doing that, and you know, you get on like the 50th take and you still haven't got it. And I'm just like, what am I doing? Put it back. Tidy up. do something else.
Oh, we've all done it though. I mean, mine isn't recording vocals; it's recording radio when we've had to do it in lockdown and stuff like that. Like, I'm quite lucky now. I've got my own sort of setup at home in a bit of a studio and that, which is great. But I did actually have a ply box that I would say I built, but I'm not handy, so I had someone, a better man, build it for me, and it was about this big. It wasn't him. A box about this big, and then my wife put audio foam all the way in it for me, and then I'd literally it was big enough that I could put everything in it like this and just sit there and record my radio show. Brilliant it was.
That sounds great, actually.
It was just couldn't move it. I was sitting in a freezing cold garage though.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's it, isn't it? That's it, yeah.
But you know, you got to do what you got to do.
That's
right,
it.
we are going to now do your dream gig. So I trust that you thought about this during the break.
Yeah, I mean, I did. I mean, we were talking about it a little, weren't we? And
What?
I don't know. You said you two were talking about it.
Yeah.
There was some prep done. Okay, fine.
well, yeah, because I mean, these sorts of questions, these sort of hypotheticals, like I struggle with them because
Right.
there's just so many that I would want to do, and then so many that I would want to do, but would also be terrified having to do. You know what I
Right.
mean? But it doesn't mean I don't want to do them. But
Yeah,
then it's
yeah.
like, you know, I have to, and I just overthink it massively because I'm like, okay, well, think about the thing that you could potentially do in 12 months. Don't think about the thing that you wished you could do in 10 years or something, you know?
Right.
So I guess we had a little bit of a chat about it, and there's a venue in Beijing that I saw some incredible bands in. Beijing gets a really strange sort of mixture of bands coming in for obvious reasons. And there's this one venue called Tango that's a stone's throw from this place called Lama Temple,
Right.
which was like one of my favorite places to hang out when I lived there. It's next to this little alleyway called Wudaoying.
Right.
And I would always go down there and chill with friends and stuff. And like just across the road, there's this massive venue called Tango, and I saw Explosions in the Sky there. I saw the Mali band Teneruin there. There's just tons, like Emancipator, the DJ, went there. But like I say, just like really interesting bands that you wouldn't think would tour in Beijing, but they do. And yeah, I'd love to go there. That would be
So Tango be your dream venue.
Tango. But I won't be doing any tangoing.
Oh.
Unfortunately. I mean, maybe I could
Do that in the interludes, won't you?
Yeah, that's right. Just cut the dad jokes out and just invite someone onto the audience and then
jokes out. So what we do as part of the dream gig, you can have 3 artists. It includes you, and then you've got your headliner, your main support, and your opener. You can feature anywhere on the bill. Who would you like to be at your dream gig, and who is fitting where on the lineup?
Right.
If you want to like sort of reduce the window, if you want, because I feel like you're thinking 10 years, or you said a minute ago 10 years or a year or whatever. You can reduce it down into people that you sort of know now if you wanted to, or you can go big with it, but I don't want to overwhelm you.
Yeah. So I guess keeping it in the sort of China context, I guess, if I was performing in Tango, I would like to perform alongside some bands that I saw there. And there's a guy called, and I'm going to butcher his name, but he's called Su the Su, and he's got a band called Su and the Paramecia. And I saw his performance. He held a secret gig during the 25th was it the 25th or was it the 20th anniversary of Tiananmen Square?
Right.
In Chinese, that's called 6-4, I think. Yeah.
Or is that just a rhythm he played?
Yeah. Well, no. But this is it. This is it. This is it. Right. So we went there, and obviously, hush hush with things like that. You can't talk about it openly. And there was obviously a lot of big military presence and things like that, like sort of cracking down on things like during the time that was going on. And
sorry,
That's probably all your text coming through. Like, let us in.
Yeah.
it was Rob Jackson. Go away.
Yeah.
Sorry, Will.
No, that's all right. So yeah. So to finish this story off, basically he got half the room to do a 6-4 clap. He did 6 on one side, 4 on the other side.
Right.
And obviously it was an amazing experience to see that, and the way he held an audience, and he's just an incredible musician himself. And yeah, no, I'd love to perform alongside him. I guess like I'd open for him.
Oh wow.
Because he's much better than me.
Can't believe that.
No, he's incredible. He's really, really good, and he's one of these sort of like you've never heard of him before, because I'd never heard of him before. A friend of mine was like, "Oh, a friend of mine's doing this show," and I was like, I was expecting it to be like your mates in a band. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You get there and it's good, but it's not like blowing the roof off. But that was as good as it gets. That was as good as it gets.
So is he headlining or?
Yeah, he would be headlining.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
So if
I don't think he's ever played tango. Saying this now, but maybe he has. I don't know. So yeah, I mean, I guess like you could go. I mean, we were talking about the band Chai.
Mm-hmm.
You know, do you know them?
No.
Japanese group. They've got a great song called "Donuts Mind If I Do," and they're extremely positive, like very, very just sort of over the top positive in the music, and it's very also quite aggressive, and the music is really interesting as well. Like, huge fan of them. They haven't done any. I don't think they've toured Europe. I think they do tours in Japan and Asia and the United States, but I don't think they do much else.
Right.
So I would love to. Maybe they can finish the night off, because I come on, I play my Sad Pony folk songs, and then Sue comes on and he plays his Sad Pony folk songs, and then Chai come on, and then it was like, hey.
And naturally you would have to introduce them, because that's almost a dad joke.
Well, yeah, exactly.
So.
I could, put on my most miserable face, the most deadpan delivery.
Do not mind if I do.
I don't really get these guys, but they're on next.
That almost sounds like Jack D-esque. Very good. I think that is obviously a very original lineup. We've never had that.
I think you're far too cultured for
Yeah.
us.
Yeah, probably. Don't know, what are you trying to say? Yeah, definitely original. Right, what would be your cover track? Would you do you do? I don't believe you do any covers when I saw you play at all. But what cover track would you do?
The cover that I played over the summer was "Sunny" by Bobby Hebb.
Right.
Because it's got lots of key changes and it's fun for me to play.
Yeah.
And I with covers, like I do loads of covers. I know loads of songs, but like I just don't really enjoy them.
Yeah. Okay.
Like I enjoy playing my own songs, or the good thing with like the oldies is that they can't. I don't know. Like, I mean, when I do it, the ones I choose anyway end up being quite challenging for me. So, like, I'm a huge Sam Cooke fan. I love Sam Cooke's music. I love "A Change Is Gonna Come." I love even the earlier ones like "You Send Me" and all like the really lovey-dovey ones. Like, I love them all. And Billie Holiday. I don't play any Billie Holiday. That was too hard. It's just too difficult.
Right.
But yeah, no. I guess if I'm ever going to do a cover, it would probably be from that era.
Right. Okay.
Or earlier, like around that. So from Billie Holiday to Sam Cooke, that whole sort of catalogue of music that you get there. And then when people start shouting, I'll just do Wonderwall.
The old favourite.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
Who would your special guest duet be with? If you could bring someone out to do a special guest duet with, who would it be?
Oh, man.
Past, present, dead or alive?
Dead or alive?
Oh, have I made it too hard now?
That's too hard.
Okay, alive.
Okay. Well, I feel like it would have to be a female singer. There's an artist who I follow at the moment, and she's releasing a lot of music. She released a song called "Ripple of Still," which is like one of the most beautiful songs I've heard in like a very long time.
Oh, cool.
She's an incredible singer and an incredible pianist and just composer in general. And her artist name's Emmeline, and to do a duet with her, I think that would be my choice.
Amazing. I haven't heard of her.
Me neither.
No. One to search for.
Yeah, no, she's brilliant.
What would be on your rider? You can have two special choices waiting for you at Tango, and if one of them isn't Tango, literally I'll be disappointed. But what would be on your
Just for the
rider?
joke.
Yeah, just for the joke.
I don't understand the question. I'm sorry.
So a rider. So if you can make a special request of something that will be there waiting for you in your dressing room. So a rider is basically a list of requests.
Oh right.
When you get to I don't know. I don't want to say so, but if you're putting on an event, Christ, I can't talk now.
The event organizer will basically put stuff in your room for you.
I think
Thank
I get
you,
it now. Like, Stuart Lee released like a comedy stand-up recently, and he does a thing about Dave Chappelle's rider.
Oh right, okay.
So yeah, I think I get it now.
Well, what was he saying about Dave Chappelle then?
He said that. Oh God, I just go watch it.
Oh,
it won't make any sense. Like,
okay.
After you've watched the podcast.
Yeah.
Yeah, of
That's
course.
it.
Yeah,
That's it.
Yeah. I'll be editing it. I would have watched it. So yes, you can have two choices of what would be on your rider, waiting for you in your dressing room at Tango.
It has to be legal.
Ideally, or legal in China.
Yeah. That's even worse than here, man. Like, get a bottle of water. So I guess it would probably be. I did a show in quite close to here. What's it called? Full Moon. Have you heard of that place? The venue,
No.
Full Moon. I performed down there, and they were so nice. Like, you know, I'm just this sort of like you never heard of before musician, you know. And they brought me in, and they had like a drinks fridge, and they were just like, yeah, just help yourself to all the wine you want. And I was like, oh great, I got absolutely smashed on all this free white wine. So
Unlimited wine. For
unlimited white wine would be a really nice touch.
That's probably mine.
Yeah.
I don't think either of you should have that before performing.
Oh, this was like before, during, and after. So,
Oh, good.
so I was sort of pacing myself.
Yeah.
And then I don't eat before performing. So I guess like no food or anything like that.
What about after? You can have something waiting for you after.
Oh God.
So if you had unlimited white
after
wine.
the adrenaline, I don't feel like it either. You know what
Oh,
I mean?
don't have any food then, Will. I don't.
Don't eat then.
I'm trying to
it's
help.
fine.
Right? I don't want you to starve. All right.
Yeah. Oh God, and it has to be legal. So
I'm really interested because it feels like you've got something in your head. You just don't want to say it.
You're right. Disclosure: this goes everywhere and doesn't get edited that much. The most I do is change camera angle once in a blue moon. So you say what you want, but it will be on YouTube.
But it's
it
not
will
getting
just be
leaked.
there forever.
And I won't beep it out.
In which case, I would like
A bottle of water.
a bottle of water, a bottle of your finest spring water, Volvic. No
Salty.
flavour. No
Salty.
flavour.
I think Volvic is salty.
Weird.
What?
Yeah.
It's not salty.
I feel like out of the waters of choice, I feel like Volvic. Do you know what I mean, or am I talking crap? I feel like Volvic is quite salty.
Every water has a different taste, but I don't think it's salty.
Yeah.
Are we going to go there? We're not going to rate waters, are we? If we got to that level.
No, we've rated coffee before.
Have we?
Well,
Have
maybe
you?
not with you, but I have on here. Yeah.
Okay.
No, I'm not rating waters. No,
Just
come on,
Volvic,
you've got to
yeah.
do something better than water.
Okay, right. So what was it?
Unlimited white
supply
wine.
of white wine and.
It doesn't have to be food or drink.
No, it can be
Doesn't
like,
Be like a Nintendo DS or something if you want.
a Nintendo DS.
Yeah, why not?
Not a Switch. We're going
What
back
a
10
Game Boy,
years.
we
What a
gotta go.
throwback to like 2005.
The tragic thing is, I wouldn't have been that young then. I don't know. Carry on.
All right. Nintendo DS, do you say? I guess.
Tamagotchi.
Yeah.
Sega console with Sonic. We could go on.
First console I had was a Sega Saturn.
Wow.
And then I think you had a Game Gear, didn't you? Sega Game Gear. There's some old consoles. There you go.
I feel like that would fit the vibe quite well, right?
I think I've decided. It's unfortunately not game related.
Oh, right, that's
Sorry
fine.
about that. I would like a weird instrument from that local area, wherever I'm
Oh, I
performing.
like that.
Just some weird instrument that I've never heard of before.
Yeah.
Stringed instrument. Like if I was playing in tango, for example, I'd want like a peepat, like the one that's like that,
Right.
and I'd want
I
one
thought
of
you said
those.
peeper. I thought that's a peeper.
I want some peeping holes. Oh wait, no, we said legal. We said legal. Sorry. Don't put that out. Edit it.
Nope.
Yeah, peepat or some sort of like.
I think that's quite cool though, because then it's
Yeah.
also about the location of where you are,
Yeah.
as well as getting a free instrument.
Yeah, exactly, and like yeah, just take it with me. Thank you for your hospitality. Yeah, like just something that, like, you know, because there's tons of stuff. I was going to a conversation with a guy when I was performing in Northampton, actually, and he plays loads of festivals, and he's like a professional didgeridoo player.
Oh, wow.
And so he's just done loads, because like whenever someone needs a didgeridoo player, it's just like,
He's the
Steve.
guy.
Steve in Northampton.
Didn't he
he's
do
the
your
guy.
art?
yeah, that's right, yeah. Yeah, he does lots of things.
Oh, good.
Good for Steve.
There must be some instruments like that, though, where you are a small selection of people do that. Like you said, I can't imagine as many didgeridoo players.
No.
Like,
That's it.
There's an advert. There was an advert, and there was a guy who was a professional whistler. I feel like I could be a professional whistler. I ain't that fucking hard. But it wasn't even that big of it. I think it was like a Lloyd's advert or something, or Nationwide or something like that. Anyway, he was a professional whistler. That was his job.
Right.
I mean, whistling's pretty... I've tried to whistle, like to put whistling into my songs and stuff, and like it's really hard. Like to
I'll
do
give
it
it
well.
a go.
Yeah, I found out the other day. So I've been with my partner for 10 years. He says when he whistles, he breathes inwards. How do you even do that?
I can do so
Like
when I've been trying to teach like Isaac, my little boy, to whistle.
Yeah.
He started by doing that, but then now he can.
I can't do that.
But it's like, yeah, I know what you mean. But you can't get anyone's attention that way. You can't like whistle at someone. Not that James would, but you can't like whistle at someone across the street and be like. I mean, you have to go like outwards, don't you?
Exactly.
Sucking them towards you. Oh God.
Anyway, so didgeridoos.
Yeah, that's right. Didgeridoos.
Back in the room.
Back in the room. No peeping holes, no whistling.
No. And nothing illegal. Right, so what would be your made it moment? Like at the moment, you said that you just described yourself a little bit earlier as someone, a musician that people might not know, right? Which I don't think's right, because since I've known you, I've listened to you a lot, and I feel like you probably underestimate yourself a little bit, or quite a bit, in fact. I think that people will know who you are. If they don't, if they don't already, they should do, definitely. Don't underestimate yourself is what I'm trying to say. Not flirting. I'm just saying. But what would be your made it moment? Have you had one yet, or what would you go, right, when I get to, in the next year, if I can do that, I'll be very happy?
I think it's to be signed.
Yeah?
That's the goal at the moment. That would be the thing which would make me go, right, okay, it's a step forward. Because I've done a kind of tour. I've released music. I've built somewhat of a following, but like what needs to happen now is I need to be in the rooms where the people who make things happen go, you know, and that's kind of what's the St. Pancras.
Let us know if you find them.
Well, exactly, right. That's kind of what the St. Pancras show is kind of about in a way,
right?
Because you've got Alex Francis, who's this established artist, and Celine Love, who's like rising and emerging, and then little old me, you know, in the on the poster you could see it, right? There's like two giant names, and then right at the bottom is like plus Will Pope.
I think you stole the show, though, to be honest.
Oh, thank you.
I do. Except for if Alex is listening, then no.
So basically, like, the idea was with shows like that is that it's like a legit venue. I'm not stood in the corner of a pub shouting over people, you know, which is what a lot of it tends to be.
Yeah.
And until you're given, I remember being in doing that show and just being like, this is what it's about, right? You know, because I know that sounds a bit cliche, but like every single note was clear as day, and the sound engineer who was working with me was so attentive and was so open to changing bits and moving bits and doing this and doing that. And then all of a sudden, here I am performing. Okay, it's a fairly modest size of an audience, but it wasn't like huge or anything. But like the sound was so pristine.
Yeah.
I was like, if I make the slightest mistake, everyone hears it. And I was like, I'm here for it basically. If I find myself in a situation where I'm playing shows like that, then I don't know whether I'd think I'd made it. Sort of, I don't know if I ever will feel like that. I don't have any sort of like delusions of grandeur, I guess, about like how difficult it is to actually make a living in this industry doing performance and stuff like that. I don't, you know, I'm not banking on it. You know what I mean? But if I'm doing shows like that, if I'm garnering interest from record labels, if I ever get signed, or, you know, by someone who is taking like an interest in what I do and thinks it's a worthy investment, then that would be the steps forward, basically.
It's fair enough. It's been interesting, hasn't it, on here? Because we've had
a mix.
It has been a real mix about people saying about that they would want to stick DIY or get signed, and there's been some even that have been signed and then come off the label to go independently.
Yeah.
So it's quite interesting getting the different varieties of stories.
Yeah, for sure. And I think you know, I've heard stories of people being approached by like Universal and stuff and getting offered like, you know, and then just turning it down.
Oh wow.
which you know, it's entirely up to you. Like, I mean, if there's never been a time, this is going to sound hugely cliche, but like doing it yourself now has never been more of an option than it is right now. That sounded profound in my head, but when it came out, it was just like, you know.
Since 5 a.m. we'll let you on.
Yeah, that's right. I'm very tired. But
so what did you mean? It's never been more of an option to do to be DIY?
Yeah, and you get like bands and stuff and artists and groups that like are designed, like their sound is designed around this idea that they are independent, and you get this sort of lo-fi-ness of it. You got like acts like, I don't know, Still Woozy, for example, who, you know, you listen to his stuff and it says in his bio in Spotify, like, you know, I just do this all myself in my garage, you know.
Yeah.
But he's got like millions of streams and millions of followers, and that album that came out, Process by Sampha, also had that sort of sound, that bedroom, I've made this myself sound. Despite the fact that he was like this, I mean, this is gonna sound like I'm ripping on him. I'm really not. Like, Process is like one of my favorite albums of all time. But he is this very much like, he'd worked with countless people, and he'd worked with Solange and all sorts, and, you know, so there was like a whole sound there of like the independent sound, the lo-fi independent sound that it's like, it sounds like it's coming from a smaller space. It's less grand. It's more clearly electronic. I don't know.
I think there's oh my gosh. I think there's a lot you can do anyway now and still sound like you've got that production quality that you don't necessarily need to be signed. I'm not speaking for myself here, obviously. But there's a lot in terms of what you can do in a studio or at home with computers and technology that you don't need a label or a...
Well, that's right, yeah. I think the only reason why I would want a label is to meet people in the industry who do what I do, and to sort of connect with other artists that do what I do, and to meet promoters and booking agencies and managers and all of that stuff. I think
it's the promotion and the booking stuff, isn't it, really?
Yeah, well, yeah. And
is it to get that financial independence from the day job as well? Because if with a label,
yeah, for sure.
All right. With a label, like, generally, is it a case that they would go, right, here's X amount of money, and then that's their investment in you to then try and get into the mainstream, and then that would then be their return on their investment? Is that right?
Yeah, I mean, for sure, that would be a massive, like, if, I guess that's the other one, like, in terms of like feeling like I sort of made it, if I was like earning enough from music that I didn't need the day job anymore.
Yeah.
Then that would be for sure. But again, I don't have any like delusions about that. Like, it's incredibly hard. Yeah.
I think it's is it the Raytons? The Raytons? Sorry if I'm mispronouncing that, but I think in their bio it says no label, no backing, all Raytons. And it's all, I think there's 4 or 5 of them in the band, and yeah, that whole idea of we're doing it by ourselves is they take a lot of pride in that. So
very punk. Very punk.
Very punk.
Yeah, I mean, it's hats off to them, really. I mean, that's an incredible thing. It's also like a huge job.
Yeah.
To be wearing so many hats and doing so many different things, you know.
Yeah.
I guess like another reason why I would want the help of a record label would be because I'm a solo act.
I was going to say
already
that,
just doing what I do now, it's already like running out of time to just sit down and write a damn song. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, it's so much like Instagram stuff, so many promotional stuff, so many, you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
it used to be that I would just sit down with a notebook, a pen, and a guitar, and I'd just, thrash it out and figure something out. And
I think it is much.
it's more harder to do that.
I'll probably get told off for this. I think it is much harder for solo artists because as long as if you're in a band and you have, say, 4 of you in a band, and you're all aligned to what your goals are, and you all know what.
That is a big if.
Wait.
Yeah.
And you're aligned to what your goals are, and you're all got your specific jobs that you're going to be doing within that band. So as an example, Ocean Floors, they've been on they were on like the 2nd episode or something, and all of them in that band have their specific jobs, what they do. So they know that Hamish, who he does a lot of the social media element of it, he does the email stuff like that. Other guys do promotion, the Instagram, stuff like that, whatever. But they've all got their defined roles in what they're doing. So if there's 4 or 5 of you all pulling in the same direction, it must be easier. However, as you were alluding to, if you have 4 people in the band and there's one person doing all the work, ain't going to work, is it? As a solo artist, you have no option but to do it yourself.
Well, yeah, exactly. And I don't really have a lot of experience with bands. I've done, I when I was doing my like rehash release, I had like a bunch of like shout outs to people that I'd worked with in the past and done shows with, but I've never like had that experience of being in a band and like the band being like, we're all in this together. It was always a sort of like, I'm bringing so and so along because they can play this thing for me in this bit. you know?
So it's always been, you've always been a solo artist, and you brought in session people to help. And
exactly, and it's not really been necessarily a choice either. Like just no one wants to be in a band with me, man. That's what it is.
Well, I'll bring me drum kit and bash something for you.
No, I'm all right.
Oh. It's playing hard to get now. Where would your after party be? So if you're at Tango, where would your after party be after your dream gig?
That's a good question. I guess there's loads of places you can have like crazy parties in Beijing.
I can imagine.
There used to be this festival that was on the Great Wall, where you literally go and camp on the Great Wall, and there'd be like just a mad party there. I don't know if I'd want to do that though. I think
it'd be a bit epic, wouldn't it? A gig at Tango and then
come on, guys, let's get on the bus. Only 4 hours now. 4 hours to that part of the Great Wall. Do you know? I'm not really sure. I guess there's a bunch of places around Beijing that I just love, and I miss a lot. So like Gulo West Street. Gulo is like the drum tower of Beijing, and it's this amazing, like you can imagine what it looks like. That sort of old Chinese architecture. And down that street, there's a bunch of just incredible bars and pubs and things that I used to just go to all the time. So maybe we'd do a bit of a bar crawl.
Oh, that's a great idea. And also an original answer, believe it or not.
Yeah, that's a surprise,
Really?
actually.
Yeah. No one's ever said about doing a bar crawl afterwards. It's a very good answer. Right.
You look in shock.
I was just wondering what the other answers were.
Some people have said, right, what will we do? We'll go to, I don't know, like Coco in Camden, or some people would go on a private jet to Monaco, or like they've gone out.
Private jet?
Yeah, dream gig, Will.
Okay, right.
I mean, you went with the Great Wall.
Yeah.
I didn't know there was a private jet involved. Changed my whole life. Can we do this whole bit again?
No. Gig tour right. When you're here, do we do gig tour right bin, or do we do just gig tour bin?
We did all 4.
Did all 4?
Yeah.
Okay. Right. So we'll do all 4 again. Okay. And are you right choosing the artists? Because we spoke about 4 earlier, and I think they're still pretty apt. But I don't know if you wanted to change any. Do you want to see?
Yeah.
So basically, I'll explain to you, Will, what we're doing. So it's basically Snog, Marry, Avoid, but for musicians, right? So you get to choose if you would like to go on a world tour with someone, which is the equivalent to marrying them. One night gig, Snog. Avoid, put all their work in the bin, but then we've also got right with as well. So you got gig, tour, bin, right, and we're going to give you 4 artists, and then you need to decide out of those 4 artists who you'd like to go on a world tour with. Gig, right, or throw all of their catalogue in the bin.
All of their catalogue in the bin?
Yeah, so Abby is going to give you the 4 artists.
I hope I know them.
I'm going to go Sam Cooke.
Okay.
Billie Holiday.
Mm-hmm.
Chet Atkins. And do we go with one from the list?
Go top one.
Okay, Ben Howard.
Okay, Ben Howard.
I knew that was going to happen.
I thought Bon Iver was top.
Oh, right, yeah, Bon Iver then.
I feel bad about Ben Howard now. Can we take that bit out?
You can't take
I'm
Ben
sure
out of the bin.
he's nice.
Well, actually, was it Luke White said Ben Howard was really awkward on stage, so maybe you could help him out a little bit, give him some dad jokes.
Yeah, maybe I could. Maybe I'd be like, listen, man.
This is how you do it.
I've got these great baby death jokes. They'll go down so well. I'm sorry. You've never heard that? Sounds like a genre of jokes. You've never heard of that?
No, I have. I wasn't expecting it. This gentle giant.
Is it allowed to be something legal? Is it allowed to be the baby?
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I have many layers, Matt.
I know this. I don't remember that joke from the night. Yeah, sorry. Can you repeat who they were? Because I've completely lost all train.
So it was Sam Cooke,
Yeah.
Billie
Holiday,
Holiday,
Bon Iver.
Bon Iver, and sorry.
Sorry, I pronounced it wrong.
Corrected.
I used to call him Bon Iver for ages, and my girlfriend, she speaks French,
Oh, you
so
used
she's like,
to.
it's Bon Iver.
Sorry, I'm so common.
No, I called him Bon Iver for ages. It's wrong, though.
But I just corrected it. Yeah.
Oh my god. What did you give him outside?
Caffeine. I don't know.
Right, come on, Will. We need a decision from
Right,
you.
Sam Cooke,
Okay.
Billie Holiday, Chet Atkins, and
Chet Atkins, yeah. I'd write with Chet Atkins because he'll show me some guitar techniques. He'll tell me what I'm doing wrong, basically.
Right.
So I'd write with him. I'd go on a world tour with Billie Holiday because she must go to some incredible places. I read a...
I'm gone.
Oh, so, yeah.
I'm so sorry.
That's okay.
talk to me. It's fine.
That's fine. I go on a world tour with Billie Holiday because I read Lady Sings the Blues, and she's got some crazy stories, so I'd just like to be a fly on the wall. And then I guess what was it?
I don't know anymore.
Gig, tour, right, or bin?
Gig with Bon Iver because
you said his name right.
I said because I wouldn't upset him, would I?
No, I would.
Yeah.
No, that's not actually his name.
I don't care anymore. Will.
Just go with Bon. You're at Bon.
Hello, Mr. Rivere. Very Mr. Winter.
Oh god.
Who are you putting in the bin out of all of those?
Me.
Who's the one left over? Sam Cooke. Oh god.
Yeah.
No, I'm not putting. All right. I hate to say it, but Bon Iver's going in the bin.
Ooh.
Thank God.
Yeah.
You ain't got to say his name now.
I ain't got to say his name anymore.
Bon
Bye.
Iver's going.
Bon.
I can't put Sam Cooke in the bin.
That's
Bon
fair.
Iver's got to go in the bin.
And
I mean, we'll always have Volcano Choir, so
It's true.
you know.
Oh mate, I'm out. I'm gone, mate. I'm trying not to wet myself laughing. Right. Well, what we're going to do, we're going to wrap up because you're going to do a couple of acoustic tracks for us, which you guys can all find on YouTube in the coming days, weeks, when we get around to it. Because we are releasing a video a day on YouTube of all the acoustic sets that we've had over the last few weeks, including all of the footage from the Hotbox gig in Chelmsford back in September. It's basically, I've called it 40 days of releases, but it goes on for longer than that. So loads of videos to come. Go and subscribe on YouTube. Will, could you tell everyone where they can find your good self on the socials, on Spotify, all that good stuff, please?
Yeah, so you can find me on Instagram. That tends to be the thing that I use most. So that's Will Pope Music. Will like the verb, and Pope like
The Pope.
the Pope. You know.
Yeah. Good.
Yeah.
Spotify?
All right. Yeah. Yeah. It's the same.
It's the same.
And
Good stuff.
if you like what you hear on Spotify, go and listen to the rest of Burying Giants on Bandcamp because it's really good.
I'll be doing that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Burying Giants is on Bandcamp. The link for that is also on my bio in Spotify as well. So if you just type Will Pope in, it should show up.
Good stuff. Abby, could you find yourself?
No, I
Tell
can't.
Could you tell people where to find yourself? Is what I meant.
A.B.Violet on the socials. And if you want to upload music to Future Hits, please go to futurehits.co.uk and we would love to listen to music and play it on one of our shows.
Exactly. And you can also upload music to unsignedmusic.uk as well. Go and subscribe to YouTube for all the podcast footage and everything else as well. That's going to wrap us up. Thank you so much for coming in.
Thank you so much.
It took a turn, but it made me absolutely die. Yeah, cool. Looking forward to the tracks. Thank you for coming in. And we will see you all next time. Thank you very much for watching. And listening.
That's going to be really loud.
We didn't forget about you lot. Bye.